Alright, what's up guys? Welcome back. I am playing my second character of Early Access PoE2, and this is a Deadeye, and I am exploring some of the Frenzy Charge stacking stuff that the Deadeye can do. So this node right here gives you a 30% chance that if you would gain Frenzy Charge, you gain up to your maximum Frenzy Charges. And then Thrilling Chase gives you 50% chance to double the benefits of Frenzy Charges for your skills. So this only affects a couple skills, but the ones that it does, it's very powerful for. So for example, Spiral Volley says 100% more damage if Frenzy Charge was consumed, 20% more damage per Frenzy Charge consumed, and chains once per Frenzy Charge consumed. So I have 7 Frenzy Charges right now. You got 3 from the tree, or I mean, sorry, three base, and then 4 from the tree. So 1 here, 1 over here, and then 2 over here. So 7 total, which means that this is doing 240% more damage if you have all 7, and then it's chaining 7 times as well. And then 50% of the time, that's getting doubled to 480% more damage and 14 chains. So it gets pretty crazy. And this skill basically just shoots a bunch of arrows in a circle. It looks kind of like this. Sorry, not that. Like that. So when you have Frenzy Charges, it gets powered up and it turns green and then they start chaining everywhere. And it's really, really strong for clearing especially. And then I also have a 50% chance to chain off of projectiles from the tree. I have like 40 or 30% on the tree. Got some over here, and then I have the ricochet gem over here. So basically you just shoot arrows everywhere and then they bounce off the walls and murders everything on the screen. So it's pretty cool. The other skills that use Frenzy Charge are Rain of Arrows. So this gets 100% more arrows if a Frenzy Charge was consumed and 50% more per Frenzy Charge consumed. Unfortunately, this skill, that doesn't really increase the DPS of Rain of Arrows. It just increases the duration. So it seems like there's a fixed rate at which the arrows fall, and just having more arrows doesn't necessarily mean you're getting more, more arrows falling at once. So that looks like this. So you just have lots of these projectiles going, and so it ends up, when you have actual Frenzy Charges, it ends up lasting for like, I don't know, 30 seconds or even more. Like it's lasts for quite a long time, which is nice, but it's not, it's not a necessarily good DPS. But so I use this as kind of like a utility skill. So I apply mainly for bossing and stuff. So you apply like armor break and lockdown for pin, and then extra crit chance on pinned enemies. And the reason we want to crit is because of Sniper's Mark, which is going to give us a Frenzy Charge if you crit marked enemy. So that's one of the ways we generate Frenzy Charges. And then the other way is using Combat Frenzy. And this, it says, gain Frenzy Charge when you freeze, electrocute, or pin an enemy no more than once every 5.6 seconds. So basically we're pinning everything because we are doing pure physical damage, and we are using the Bushwhack boots. And this says physical damage is pinning. So basically all of our skills have the ability to pin enemies, and generally pins everything immediately. So like it's very easy to pin most things, including bosses. And we do have some like extra pin buildup on the tree over here and also up here. So because of that, it's just like you pretty much just tap everything once and they're like just instantly pinned, which is very strong because pin, means the enemy can't move at all. They can still attack you, they can still like shoot projectiles or whatever, but they won't be able to move. And because Spiral Volley just kind of hits everything, it just kind of like, it pins the entire screen, which is great. And then the last thing we use is Barrage, and this lets you basically repeat an attack once per Frenzy Charge, plus one extra time. The repeats deal about 50% less damage, but you can get, if you get lucky and you get the doubled effect from Thrilling Chase, you can get 15 repeats from a single attack. So that's what we use with Snipe. And Snipe is basically a charge up skill, and if you release it at precisely the right moment, you get a guaranteed crit that does a whole bunch of extra damage. So yeah, basically we do barrage snipe on bosses, and it just kind of like does huge chunks of damage because barrage, literally you can get 15 repeats in a row. So it's pretty awesome. Yeah, so I'll just kind of show you what the mapping looks like. This is, I kind of just reached maps on this character. Most of my gear is garbage. Hopefully I don't die because I have terrible resistances and stuff, but, so this is what Spiral Volley looks like when you have actual frenzy charges, and it just kind of bounces everywhere and off-screens everything, and it's great. And as you can see, none of the enemies can move. And then if we do a barrage, boom. You can see I'm also generating some power charges from Lingering Illusion, which leaves kind of a illusion when I dodge roll, and if enemies attack the illusion, I get power charges. The only thing power charges are giving me are some extra crit chance because I use the charge infusion buff, which gives you 15% more crit chance while you have a power charge. And it also gives you skill speed while you have a frenzy charge, so. So this skill is particularly good in maps like this where, you know, there's kind of like tight corridors and there's lots of walls because of the 50% chance to chain off walls, so everything just kind of bounces around all over the place. Which is really nice. Feels really good. See how everything is just like instantly pinned, which is really, really nice. There should be... Oh, the boss is down here. Let me go find it. So, as you can see, the damage on the barrage is pretty great. It's very good for just like one-shotting stuff. And that's kind of what happens when you multiply your damage by 15. So yeah, that's the build. And just to show kind of the tree, it's mostly just like projectile damage stuff, frenzy charges. We get some life charge or life flask charges per second, which is nice. We got pin stuff over here and over here. We got extra bonuses from our quiver. And, oh yeah, currently I'm using a quiver that is corrupted with chance to chain from terrain. So I actually have more than 50% chance. I forgot about that. And that should get multiplied by this extra quiver effect as well, which is pretty cool. And just to show you my bow as well, it's just a pure fizz bow. Got pretty lucky crafting it. And yeah, projectile chain stuff over here. We got some move speed and evasion. We got chance to maim on hit. We got all the bow stuff here, extra attack speed, crit chance as arrows travel further. Increases and reductions to proj speed also apply to damage with bows, and then arrows pierce an extra target. It seems that in PoE2, chain happens before pierce, maybe? I can't quite tell, but I think that's how it's working. Which is nice, because when you have 14 extra chains, you don't really want to pierce, you want to just chain everywhere. We just have some more crit chance stuff over here. And more projectile damage and chaining, and then just some cooldown recovery rate stuff, just because Sniper's Mark and Barrage are both cooldown skills. So, oh yeah, and this is actually really important. Farsighted, reduced penalty to accuracy at range, because, like, obviously stuff is getting off-screened a lot. It hurts our accuracy because there's a huge accuracy penalty in PoE2 based on your range. So I think this, I as soon as I picked up this notable, I like immediately noticed a difference in terms of just the general accuracy. And then I also picked up nearsighted just because I feel like there's a lot of times when I am at close range anyways, so I think those are both good to have. So that's the tree. Gear, yeah, it's really nothing special. It's just like a bunch of garbage leveling gear that I threw on. These are the only like required unique for the build, and that's just so that the physical damage is pinning. And again, you need to be pinning because of Combat Frenzy requires you to pin, freeze, or electrocute in order to generate charges. Yeah, and then as far as gems go, I am using just like the default bow attack. And I originally wanted to do this build as like a bleed build, but then I kind of realized that pin has anti-synergy with bleed because your enemies bleed more when they're moving, and pin obviously prevents everything from moving. I did like level with, or kind of try to level with bleeding, and it's really hard because you only get 30% bleed chance from the support gem, and you have to stack like a lot of different bleed notables on the tree to get enough chance, and they're like way over here, or like over here, over here. Like it's a lot of travel, and it's even with all of that, you still don't get 100% bleed chance. So you need to use like a bleed quiver. There's a quiver with an implicit with like 15% chance to bleed, and then maybe like scale some quiver effect or something like that. That's an option. There's like bleed jewels. This was a pretty good one that I got fairly cheap. But yeah, they only go up to, I believe 7% chance to bleed is the highest you can get on a jewel. So like you have to stack a lot of them if you want anywhere near 100% chance, which is kind of annoying. I kind of hope they change that because I don't really understand why. Like bleed in general seems very weak right now compared to poison because it doesn't stack and it does less, just like less damage. Like if you look at poison, it's 20% of physical damage and chaos damage for 2 seconds, whereas bleed is only, I believe it's only 15%. Let's see. It's 15% of the physical damage, but then it's doubled if they're moving or if the bleeding is aggravated. But it doesn't stack. Like poison, you can at least get extra stacks of it. So overall, there just seems to be a lot more support for poison right now. And maybe that's just because they haven't added the other classes yet. I think probably when they add Duelist, I'm assuming there's going to be some kind of bleeding ascendancy, like Gladiator or something like that. So maybe we'll get more bleed support, but right now it just doesn't feel super worth investing into. Or at the very least, it takes quite a lot of investment to get it going. So I ended up going kind of more of a traditional, just like hit-based crit route for this build, but maybe in the future, try to make bleed work again. Yeah, so that's pretty much the build. So we have, honestly, just kind of threw a bunch of random things on here, but Scattershot and Martial Tempo just help the bow shot feel quicker, and obviously shoot extra projectiles. Snipe, we use super critical because it's guaranteed to crit, so you don't have to care about that less crit chance downside. Window of opportunity, which gives you a shorter window for the perfect timing, but like it does way more damage. So if you can hit that perfect timing window, it's really good. And then heft for more maximum physical damage. Spiral Volley has perpetual charge. This is super important because it gives you a chance to not remove your charges, so you can get that like 480% more damage on multiple hits in a row. And then Brutality, because we're doing pure fizz damage. Long Shot, because we're hitting stuff on like off screen. And then Ricochet, just for more chains. And Rain of Arrows has Splinter for armor break. Lockdown for more pin buildup, so that you can just like lock down a boss or whatever like while they're sitting under the rain. And then Leverage for crit chance to proc Sniper's Mark. Sniper's Mark has second wind, just so you can use it twice. And Barrage with Premeditation just gives you extra damage on the empowered skill, and then just some cooldown recovery rate stuff. I am using Wind Dancer, which is super nice in this build because of the pin. Anytime it goes off, it also will pin everything, which is cool. You can use Expanse because you can just ignore that 6-second cooldown on there, so you get big AoE, and then also using Magnified Effect for even bigger AoE, and then Blind, so like the entire screen just gets blinded if they hit me, basically. And Cannibalism on Charge Infusion. This can kind of go on any of these buffs, but that just gives you some life recovery on kill. Combat Frenzy with Perfusion, so this has a chance to grant extra charges. And then Lingering Illusion with Persistence, so it just lasts longer. And that's it. That is the build. It is going pretty well so far. I'm having a lot of fun in early mapping with this build, so we'll see how it holds up in the end game. Anyways, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.